good afternoon. So we've had obviously quite a few talks today already about scholarship, what it is, how to do it well, a basis of educational frameworks. And for the last of our didactic talks, myself and Dr. Gutman are going to try to give you some tangible tools to package all that work that you are doing into your package for promotion and tenure. Just to get a sense, I just was wondering where people are in the audience. Are there any residents in the audience who are starting very early? Good. And as we heard from Dr. Kaminsky, right, we want to start early on getting your stuff together. Any fellows? Excellent. Any assistant professors? Associate professors? Full professor? All right, good. All right, so we have the whole gamut. So, before we get started, I know Dr. O mentioned it a little bit, why promotion is important, but I want to hear from people, like why do you, for yourself, are you planning to go for a promotion at some point? Anybody else? Yes.
I think it's about professional identity, figuring out where you fit into the area of medical education, research, and scholarship.
Good. Good. Yes. Perfect. So I think for me, and I think for a lot of us, it's really the culmination of and recognition of everything that we've done, both by our colleagues, our friends, both within our institution and externally. That when you've reached a certain rank, people know that the hard work that comes with it, and it's a recognition of that hard work. And it's the one thing that in academia that someone can't take away from you. Right? It's portable. When you move from institution to institution, you can take it with you. So that's why it's really important that we are focusing on this today. And it feels good. So I know Dr. O mentioned that promotion has been referred to as a stool. I've heard of it referred to as a pyramid. And each of these aspects are really important. And they're all actually related in a sense to Boyer's framework for scholarship that Christine referred to before. And in terms, it involves teaching, scholarship, as well as service. So teaching is obviously self-explanatory with Boyer's teaching, but scholarship, that's your discovery, your scholarship of discovery, and then service is of application, where you're actually taking those things that you have learned and studied and applying them to the service of the institution. And depending on where you are and in what clinical track, which track you are on at your institution, each of these are going to be weighed differently. If you're a pure basic scientist, you're obviously going to focus much more on the scholarship and research aspect, while those of us who are clinician educators, it's going to be weighed more heavily on the teaching aspect as well. But none of these are in isolation. You do have to fulfill all those parts of the pyramid. And it's really important that you know what your institution is expected and what criteria and how many points. Some places, like at SUNY Downstate where I am, is they have a point system. So you need, if you go down the clinician track, you have to have 2 points in scholarship, 2 points in service, and say 4 points or something in teaching. So you have to know your institution's policies and criteria. And so once you've gone and you've done all this stuff, just like the Louvre in Paris is a way to showcase this beautiful pyramid, your educational portfolio showcases your aspects of of your scholarship and for promotion. Your portfolio is a compilation of materials that exemplifies your beliefs, your skills, your qualifications, your training and experiences. And it provides for the people who are in the, some places call it promotion and training, P&T committees, others call it CAPQ, which is the Committee on Promotion and Qualifications, I think. And when they see your packet, it's your educational portfolio that really synthesizes everything that you've done and exemplifies your values. It's different than what we consider a CV. A CV is pretty much a list of everything you've done, and it's a list of your qualifications. Well, this is more of an explanation of everything that you've done. And again, several institutions may have a format that you need to follow for your educational portfolio. Other places just have a CV. At Downstate, we actually just had a CV, and I was like, this does not give an adequate picture of who I am. So I actually went ahead and created an educational portfolio to go with that, especially since most of my scholarship was through medical education, which a lot of these P&T committees aren't very familiar with. So it's important that you can create a narrative. And this is from the AAMC has a template for creating an educator portfolio. And what do you put into your educational portfolio? First of all, it's your educational philosophy. So you want to talk about what's important to you, what you've done, why you've done this dedicated medical education research and scholarship, why that's important. It's a way to portray your academic brand, as Dr. Kaminsky referred to. And so you want to let them know who you are as a person, as an educator, and again, especially as P&T committees are starting to learn about this thing called medical education scholarship. You also want to include what your 5-year plan is within that portfolio, because for committees, they want to make sure that if they grant you promotion, that you're going to stick around, because again, service to the institution is really important. And you want to show that, hey, you know, I've just been promoted to full professor. I'm not going to just sit and rest on my laurels, that I still want to continue and give to the institution and to myself. So you want to say that, you know, once I'm promoted, it'll open up these opportunities for me that I will do for the institution. So you want to have a 5-year plan, not for just for yourself, but also for the people on the committee. And it's a collection of materials. Any teaching that you've done, you want to talk about that. You want to talk about learner assessments and evaluations from the learners, and Dr. Gutman's going to give you guys even more detail exactly how to do that and how to do that well. Any curricula you developed, you want to be specific in how many people attended that curriculum, how it was rated. All those details need to be included, which is why it's really important to do this early. Because the worst thing is when you're coming up for promotion and you need to get 7 years worth of stuff together and try to find these evaluation forms stuck somewhere. So you need to come up with a system to keep track of that. Some people have Post-it notes. Some people have an email, a folder on their desktop where they put in their evaluations so that it's accessible. Any mentoring and advising you do, if you have any mentees, where they end up, what they're doing, those are all really important things to do. And if you get comments from advisors, and again, we're going to get into a lot more detail on what you should include. And obviously any educational and leadership and administrative opportunities, because that goes towards the service aspect. What you don't want to do is you don't want to double dip. Like, you don't want to put the same thing down for teaching and service. You do want to separate those things. So, for example, with the faculty incubator, when I was a participant, I put that down more as under learning and like my personal faculty development. And then as I moved up to chief operating officer, I put that in another bucket, because that's national service. And so you want to make sure that you hit all the buckets, but don't double dip. And then finally, this is from the AAMC on that same website, components of a portfolio. And your portfolio is going to change, just like your elevator pitch changes, and needs to be adapted for the situation. They refer to two types of portfolios. One is a developmental portfolio, and the other one is your professional portfolio. So your developmental one is something that you start out, like when you go home today, or at some point, if you've given any presentations, put those down, put them into your portfolio. This is the active living, breathing document that's going to be changing, that you're going to add on to. It's a way for you to discuss with your mentor, this is where I am, this is where I'm going. These things can be really, really long, 25, 30 pages. So you might have, depending on your P&T committee, you may want to shorten that and make it much more succinct into an elevator pitch, and have a different version for when you actually go up to promotion. But it's much easier to cut down something big than it is to start small and then try to scramble and get everything else together. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Gutman, who's going to give you guys some even more concrete advice on how to create your CV and your educational portfolio.